Greetings, everyone. This is a shot of whiskey. My apologies if you missed my last video on account of it not being on the other two not as big as YouTube sites. Apparently, they're still young and inexperienced enough to where a big 2 gigabyte file they can't accept. YouTube can handle it just fine because YouTube's been around so much. Yes, lame sex joke is lame. I get it. So with this video, I'm going to be bringing up two different things. The first one, it's kind of a funny story a little bit. Yesterday on Twitter, I had responded to somebody who was singing praise of Gavin Newsom and saying that California is moving forward. To which I replied, forward off a cliff. I have been suspended. Because apparently the Twitter bots interpreted that as me encouraging self-harm and ending one's life. Okay. That's really dumb. I mean, especially when you look at it and take things into context, it should have been obvious. I was talking about the state of a state. I was not telling someone to kill themselves. That's ridiculous. So, of course, I fought to appeal it. They still haven't. My guess is because how dare I speak ill will of our vice presidents and our glorious governor in the glorious Golden State. But it's true the way I see it. They are going off a cliff. But what I find to be even more funny about this is, from what they had described, it sounded as if I was going to be suspended for just 12 hours. Well, at the time of me making this recording, it's been 16. And I'm still banned. Or suspended, I should say. I'm not banned, I'm suspended. There's a difference. Yeah, I just think that's kind of silly and ridiculous. Who knows? By the time this loads up on YouTube, it's probably going to be the opposite. But, in any case, the other thing I wanted to talk with you guys about, I'm doing this more so to point out some hypocrisy that's been kind of, in a way, going on in my life. More accurately, it's about my son's mother. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel and you don't know this, long story short, I've been living with my mom for the last 3.5 years because I needed someone to watch my son while I was at work. His mom stopped doing it because she moved out on us to move in with her boyfriend and basically live the garden tools life. Being highly irresponsible while claiming to be finding herself as an adult, whatever the hell that means. But and now for those who are wondering, just about every day of my son's life after being born, she and I were no longer a couple. She broke things off about halfway between the pregnancy, and we decided to continue living together as friends. We just thought that it would be easier for all three of us, especially for the idea of raising a child together. And it worked okay. But she ended up moving out of the house when our son turned 5 because she couldn't handle the stress of dealing with a couple of our roommates, one of them in particular, which I think is just fucking pathetic. But that's basically the exact same reason why the current situation is taking place, which is, and again, this part is mostly for those of you who are new to this channel. We live in the Portland metro area. I live on one side. She lived on completely the opposite side. On a good traffic day, it would take about 30 to 35 minutes to drive between our two homes. On a typical day, because the traffic along this way kind of sucks ass most of the time, it could take an hour. But I gotta get in the habit of having that being where the camera's at instead of that. I'm looking at the stop button, sorry. But she has recently, because of some of her roommates, to move to Wisconsin I'm not going to go into the reasons why she chose that state. I'm not going to go into the shit that some of her roommates put her through. Only to say that while I understand from that perspective, I'm also disgusted by the fact that it's the exact same reason why she abandoned her son 3.5 years ago, and she's doing it again in a much more grand situation. Because during these last 3.5 years, she was still able to see our son. Just drive for half an hour or so, see him for a couple of days, go back to living your life as a whore. Now she can't do that. She's in fucking Wisconsin. Well, actually, right now as we speak, she's probably in either North Dakota or Minnesota. She's still on the road right now as I'm speaking. Well, maybe not quite literally on the road, but she's on her way to Wisconsin. I don't remember the name of the city. I just remember when she told it to me, I looked it up on Google Maps. I'm like, oh, it's not too far from Green Bay. But yeah, she's fucking abandoning her son. She's not being a parent. She's being an anti-parent, I guess you could say. And nobody is calling her out on this shit. At least not that I've seen, not that I've heard. I mean, there's some people in my family who know of the situation who are like, good riddance. She was a terrible mother, which is true. Who was barely there for her son, which, true. But at the same time, if it was me who did this shit, and he was with her, she was still here in this very same city, and I ended up moving to the other side of Portland, and I'm now on the road heading towards Wisconsin or some other distant state that's in 2 different time zones. Everybody would be on my ass saying how I'm a horrible parent, I'm a bad father, I should never be allowed to see my kid, but I should still fork over thousands of dollars in child support. Nobody, not even in my family, nobody would be cutting me any slack. Nobody would be giving a crap about whatever reason I would have. But yet she's gotten a pass. Everybody's all like, oh, we totally understand where you're coming from. We have your support, or you have our support. You know, you go, girl. Be you. Never mind about your responsibilities of creating a life form. But I feel a little conflicted on it. Part of me does say good riddance, because, you know, not only was she a terrible parent, but I fucking hated her roommates. Well, I mean, one of them was an okay guy, but all in all, her roommates were douchebags. I mean, if you've seen Team America World Police, you probably remember the bar scene where the drunk is talking about the difference between a dick, an ass, and a pussy. I don't think these guys qualify for any of them. Maybe a pussy, which is why I call them douchebags. But I wouldn't go so far as to say that they're assholes. I think that's giving them too much credit. But even still, traveling to fucking Wisconsin. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some things about Wisconsin that do seem pretty awesome. It's just the idea of she's moving over 1,000 miles away. How the hell is she supposed to be anything resembling a parent? There's a part of me that's thinking, well, now that she's made this huge, massive ass travel, maybe now I should finally be like a single mother would and file for child support. You're not going to see our kid? Give me money. Help me out as the single parent who's got this responsibility. It's actually seeming like a good idea now. I mean, I've held it off all this time because I understood that she had a hard time keeping a fucking job. I think the longest job she had since she moved out to Oregon was like 5 months. But, yeah. Just major double standard. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and try and keep this underneath 10 minutes. Take care, everyone, and always remember, if you abuse alcohol, it will abuse you back.